Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to get a chance to participate in the NCSC Drawdown Conference. My name is Amy Luers. I am the Global Lead for Sustainability Science at Microsoft. I actually just recently joined Microsoft to build this new sustainability science program, and I'm super excited about it. It's actually very early days for us, but I did want to take a moment to share with you what we are building and hopefully plant some seeds for opportunities for us to collaborate with some of you in this great network in the future. The Sustainability Science program at Microsoft really works at the intersection of environmental science, social science, computer science, and design. The foundation of the program is the belief that digital transformations and societal transformations to sustainability are interconnected and intertwined. And this is because humanity today is interdependent on and interconnected to each other through both the digital and natural worlds. This reality today creates opportunities and challenges. We need the power of the digital sector, of the digital world, to tackle the complexity and planetary scale of sustainability challenges we face. But we can only do this if we have a digital world, a digital sector that is safe, secure, equitable, and environmentally sustainable. At Microsoft, we work on these issues every day. Because of limited time, I can't touch on them all, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of a snapshot of our focus in the context of sustainability. First, we are focused on building a sustainable business. We have made sustainability commitments across 4 areas. Carbon, we've committed to being carbon negative by 2030 and to removing all of the emissions we have put into the atmosphere since the start of the company. We've made this commitment to do this by 2050. We've also committed to being zero waste by 2030, zero water positive by 2030, and by 2025, protecting more land than we use. We see minimizing our operational environmental footprint as a necessary step to a much larger goal, and that is to help everyone, everywhere, build a more sustainable future. And that's what we're shooting for. And this is where the research and innovation really comes in. Because if we want to look at these goals, the goals we've set in these 4 sectors, not just only for ourselves, but for the world, how can we help the world achieve such goals? Much research and innovation is needed. We know pretty well what is needed to be done, but what we don't know is how to get there, how to drive these changes. And that's the big focus of the global sustainability work at Microsoft. Let me give an example of how our team is working in these areas. I'm going to hone in on carbon, just because we don't have time to go through all the rest, but we'll give a little bit of an example. Internally, Microsoft has committed to being carbon negative, as I said, by 2030, and to remove all carbon that we've emitted since we started in the company by 2050. This is across scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. You can see by these numbers, scope 3, that is the sort of more indirect emissions, not our operations, really dwarfs all the other emissions in scope 1 and scope 2. But we're working across all of these, and they have challenges and challenges in each one of them. We have a plan. You can see here in the plan for how to get there. This is just sort of an overview of where these different pieces will go. The colors to read them is blue is the overall emissions of sustainability in terms of Microsoft and its supply chain emissions. In other words, scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. And the red figures in the histogram, in the columns, is just our Microsoft operations. And that, you can see, is much smaller in the blue. It really highlights dramatically how much the scope 3 or the supply chain sort of dwarfs our internal operations, but we're tackling both of them. And then the green represents carbon removal. We previously supported avoided emissions reductions, and that has stopped this year. And we're really focusing specifically on carbon removal because we're moving towards net negative, not just net zero, but net negative, moving towards removing all of the emissions that we have emitted in the past. And doing that right requires certainly a great deal of research and innovation. And that's where our team focuses, because the first part of it in terms of reducing emissions internally in our operations actually is largely, it's the easy part of it. There's some hard emissions to reduce, but we're already well on our path to moving towards 100% purchasing of renewable energy to support our operations. Right now, we're at 60% in 2019, and on the path to 100% in the next few years. But again, the real focus of the research and innovation work is how to get those other percent in the context of this carbon area. And there are a few sort of big buckets of research and innovation work that we need to focus on, and we've begun to focus on and we'll build out. One is carbon removal and accounting. This is both the technology and the techniques for actually removing carbon, whether it be in forests or in soils or in ocean ecosystems or in technology in terms of direct carbon capture and storage and storing deep in the Earth system and geology. The second area of research in terms of the carbon removal and management is looking towards risk management. All of these different pieces of the puzzles have risks. We can leverage the technologies of the digital age to be able to better monitor, forecast, and respond to these risks in real time. And we're advancing those works as a team. And finally, it's enabling a behavior change. This is both internally with our own employees, but also with customers and partners around the world, finding ways to make it easy to make these choices and also incentivizing those changes. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of a sample of how we're already partnering with people around the world to make these changes in these different areas, but also want to remind you this is early days, and I'm really giving you a little bit of insight of where we're headed and look forward to exploring opportunities to work with all of you. So we're working with groups like Sylvia Terra to improve the monitoring of forests so that we can also improve the forest accounting. This is one piece of that accounting puzzle, but it's an important piece. So where are the trees at the resolution that we can really begin to look at the carbon in them? We're also working with companies to develop and enable and open up the sustainability components of their supply chains so that they can make better decisions, and so can their partners. This is for example, with Mars Corporation, where they've developed an incredible application in our infrastructure to look at transparency across their business operations. We're also working with things like TerraFuse, which is looking at using the intersection of environmental science and AI to better predict forest fires and at more accuracy and more detail to be able to manage these risks in new ways. Of course, one of the biggest risks that is on everybody's mind today is COVID-19. The coronavirus is putting us all in this state right now where we're having this conference in a virtual state. And the coronavirus, of course, as we know in the science research and innovation community, is not a new threat. It's something that we've actually experienced, we've had for ages. Most recently, we've seen Ebola in the West Africa as a epidemic with pandemic potentials, Zika and MERS. And these threats of infectious diseases and zoonotic infectious diseases are not new, and they're linked to human sustainability. And at Microsoft, we're really focusing on integrating the environmental, social, and artificial intelligence and machine learning to help improve our ability to manage and monitor these risks. One project, we're doing this across different sectors of the company in terms of health, as well as the sustainability network. One project in particular that really brings these together that I wanted to highlight is Project Premonition, which is looking to bring to people together the science of people understanding wildlife, people understand ecosystems, and to track that and to focusing on ability to detect emerging infectious diseases before people get sick, before these diseases really spread. So these are just a quick sampling of the types of projects that we've been working on, where bringing together environmental science, social science, computer science, and design, together with customers, together with partners, together with folks in both the NGO world, the business world, and government sectors, to be able to really advance the global sustainability agenda. So I look forward to working with all of you in these areas. As I mentioned in the beginning, we are really just in the beginning stage of ramping up this program, and looking forward, in addition to having research and innovation at the core of this program, we'll also be working to look to train sort of the next generation of sustainability leaders who really need to be able to speak across these areas, need to understand environmental science, social science, computer science, and design to be able to tackle the problems of tomorrow and the problems of today. We also will look to be able to publish our work. We already have been doing that. We want to do that a lot more with partners in the field who can really, we can bring minds together to be able to think about these big problems in new ways, and share what we learn through publications. We'll be investing in projects. We already are investing in companies and in researchers to do work, and in NGOs to do work together to be able to advance the work at this intersection. And finally, to bring our voice to policy that's really important, to be able to have us all do more at this intersection, to have us all do more to advance the sustainability agenda. So I look forward to engaging in the discussion with this conference over the next few days, and hopefully interacting with all of you and exploring ways of how we can work at this important intersection of technology and science to move us forward on sustainability. So thank you.